The autumn rain drummed against my apartment window like restless knuckles. Quick, unyielding, keeping time with the panic racing through me as my thumbs flew across my phone. The pale glow of the screen reflected in the bruised shadows under my eyes, proof of 3 sleepless nights spent nursing Emma. My 4-year-old, burning with fever, finally resting in the next room. I sank further into the worn cushions of my thrift store couch. The soft smell of baby powder and cheap fabric softener surrounded me, familiar, grounding, and heartbreakingly fragile. Please, just give me one more chance. I breathed the words as I typed to Mike. My ex, Emma's father, a man who'd mastered vanishing when he was needed most, 3 months late on child support. Silent whenever bills piled up. Tonight, I needed him to remember we were real, that we were sinking. The radiator rattled in the corner, waging war with October's cold as it crept through thin walls and thinner insulation. Emma needs medicine. Rent is due tomorrow. You promised $1,200 this week. Please answer, send. Then, impulsive, reckless, I sent another. I know you got paid from the Caselli job. Don't force me to call them myself. A bluff. I barely knew the name. Just something Mike had yelled during our last fight, swearing this job would fix everything. It never did. I let the phone drop and pressed my hands to my temples, trying to crush the headache. The ceiling light flickered, a warning. Another thing in my life ready to fail. Then my phone vibrated, my heart leapt. I grabbed for it, nearly losing it between the cushions. But instead of excuses, 3 words stopped my breath. Who is this? Wrong number, not Mike. My stomach hollowed. I typed quickly, sorry. Wrong contact, please ignore. The reply came instantly. What Caselli job? I should have stopped, should have stayed quiet. Exhaustion made the choice for me. My ex works for someone by that name. My mistake. 3 dots appeared, vanished, returned, your name. Now something about it felt off. Heavy, menacing. I hesitated. This is a misunderstanding. I'm sorry to bother you. The response was ice cold. Address. My hands shook as I set the phone down. Outside, the rain grew louder, heavier, urgent. I pulled my cardigan tighter and checked on Emma, needing reassurance that life was still normal. Her fever was gone. A miracle. I brushed her damp curls aside, adjusted her unicorn nightlight. Lavender glow, steady breathing. Back in the living room, my phone buzzed again. And again. And again. I didn't answer. I read, I already know who you are, Sophia Ellis. My full name, I hadn't shared it. 1422 Westbrook Avenue. Apartment 3B, my address. The air left my lungs. Your daughter is feeling better. The phone slipped from my fingers and hit the floor. How did they know about Emma? I snatched it up, hands trembling violently. Mike, a sick joke, a nightmare. I peeked through the blinds, rain-darkened pavement, amber streetlights, empty street. Then I saw it. A black Escalade rolled to a stop in front of my building, headlights off, engine idling, steam rising like breath, then another, then another. 5 black SUVs boxed in the building. My phone buzzed. I'm here, not a request, a statement. My heart slammed against my ribs. The downstairs buzzer had been broken for months, but it didn't matter. Whoever this was, rules meant nothing. Footsteps echoed in the stairwell, slow, precise. They stopped at my door, no knock, just silence. Then my phone lit up. Open the door, Sophia. I backed toward Emma's room, no way out, no fire escape, no back door. Then a knock, soft. Controlled, terrifying. Another message appeared. I'm not here to harm you or Emma. We need to discuss Michael. Michael, not Mike. Every instinct screamed to run, but survival overruled fear. I reached for the deadbolt, one twist. Nothing would ever be the same. I opened the door. The hallway light framed him, wide shoulders, tailored suit, a luxury watch catching the glow. He smelled of cedar, leather, and something sharp like authority. Another man stood behind him, larger, silent, observing. The first man stepped closer. Cut cheekbones, firm jaw, eyes so cold they sliced straight through me. Sophia Ellis, he said, not a question. I believe we should talk about your relationship with Michael Donovan. My legs nearly gave out. Who are you? His smile was slow, calculated. Alessio Caselli, your ex took something extremely valuable from my family. The truth hit like a collision. I tried to shut the door. His hand stopped it, effortless. That would be a mistake. His gaze drifted past me. Your daughter is asleep. Let's keep it that way. Ice flooded my veins. I don't know anything, I whispered. He studied my face. You knew enough to use my name, I cracked. I was bluffing. I was desperate. Something changed behind his eyes, measured. May I come in? A door creaked down the hall. Mrs. Abernathy peeked out. Alessio smiled, polite, ordinary. Work matter. She disappeared. I stepped aside. He entered. The room felt smaller. Michael didn't just take money, Alessio said softly. He took information that could cost lives, including your daughter, And in that instant, I understood. My message hadn't reached the wrong person. It had reached the worst one possible. He wouldn't. He needed to provide a family contact when he started working for me. Said you were still on good terms. Elisio's mouth twisted in what might have been amusement. Clearly, he lied about that too. My mind raced, trying to process this new information. Mike had used me as his emergency contact for a job with the Mafia. The absurdity of it would have been laughable if it weren't so terrifying. As for knowing about your daughter's illness, Elisio continued. You've been filling prescriptions at Westside Pharmacy. My business owns that building. I hugged myself tighter, feeling exposed. So, what do you want from me if you believe I don't know where Mike is? I want to find him before my competitors do. And you're going to help me. How am I supposed to do that when I can't even get him to answer my texts? Because you have something he wants? Elisio nodded toward the hallway where Emma slept. His daughter. The one thing he might actually care about. I stood up abruptly, fury momentarily overtaking fear. You are not using my daughter as bait. In one fluid motion, Elisio rose to meet me, his height forcing me to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. I'm offering you protection, Sophia, for both of you. Because believe me when I tell you, if the Bratva finds him first, they won't hesitate to use Emma to draw him out, and their methods won't be nearly as humane as mine. The word brought hung in the air between us. Russian Mafia. I'd heard enough news stories to understand the threat wasn't empty. What exactly are you proposing? I asked, hating how my voice shook. You and Emma come with me tonight. I move you to a secure location. You contact Michael. Tell him you need to see him urgently, that Emma is asking for him. He won't come just for that. Then tell him whatever will work, that you're in trouble, that Emma is worse, that you found something of his the police would be interested in. Elisio shrugged. You know which buttons to push better than I do. And if I refuse, his expression hardened. Then I leave, take my men with me. Remove the only protection standing between you and people who would use far more persuasive methods to get what they want. My gaze darted to the window to the black vehicles still waiting outside. They no longer seemed threatening. They seemed like a barrier against something worse. I need to think, I whispered. You have 5 minutes. Elisio stepped back, checking his watch. Pack whatever you and Emma need for a few days, nothing more. As if on cue, a soft cry came from Emma's room. Mommy. Elisio's eyes met mine. Go to her. But remember, this isn't just about Michael anymore. It's about keeping your daughter safe. I hurried down the hallway, my heart pounding. Emma was sitting up in bed, her favorite stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest, her forehead glistening with sweat. Hey, sweetheart, I murmured, sitting on the edge of her bed and brushing damp curls from her face. How are you feeling? My throat hurts, she said, her voice raspy. Who's talking out there? Just a friend of Mommy's. I forced a smile. We need to go on a little trip. Okay, just for a few days. Her eyes widened like a vacation, something like that. I opened her dresser, pulling out clothes with shaking hands. We need to pack quickly. Is Daddy coming? The hope in her voice shattered my heart. Despite everything, she still loved him, still asked for him. Maybe, I said, not knowing what else to tell her. We'll see. I helped her dress in jeans and a sweater, packed a small backpack with her essential clothes, medications, and Mr. Flopsy the rabbit. The whole time I felt as if I were moving through a dream or a nightmare. This couldn't be happening. I couldn't be packing up my daughter in the middle of the night to go with a man who had just appeared at my door. A man connected to whatever criminal activity Mike had gotten himself tangled in. But what choice did I have? When we emerged from the bedroom, Elisio was speaking quietly into his phone. He ended the call as soon as he saw us, his expression softening almost imperceptibly when his gaze landed on Emma. She half hid behind me, suddenly shy. Hello, Emma, he said, his voice gentler than I'd heard it yet.
He crouched down to her level. My name is Elisio. I'm going to help you and your mum for a little while. Emma studied him with the unfiltered curiosity only children possess. Are you a doctor? Mummy said. I'm still sick. A smile ghosted across his lips. No, not a doctor. But I know some very good ones can help you feel better. She seemed to consider this, then nodded solemnly. Okay, can Mr. Flopsy come, too? Of course. Elisio straightened, meeting my eyes over Emma's head. Do ye have everything? I held up my hastily packed duffel bag. Enough for a few days. He nodded once, then spoke into an earpiece I hadn't noticed before. Bringing them down now. Have the car ready. The bodyguard, Anton, opened Theodore as we approached. Emma clung to my hand, suddenly apprehensive about leaving our apartment in the middle of night. I couldn't blame her. Every step felt like I was walking deeper into quicksand. "It'll be okay," I whispered to her, though I had no reason to believe. It would be. The hallway was empty as we made our way to the stairs. Alacio in front, Anton behind us. Like bookends, he thought hysterically. Or prison guards. "Where are we going?" I asked as we descended the stairs. "Somewhere safe," was all Alessio said. Outside, the rain had stopped, leaving the streets slick and gleaming under the streetlights. One of the black Escalades idled directly in front of the building's entrance, its engine a low, powerful hum. A driver held the back door open as we approached. Emma balked at the sight of the imposing vehicle and the stone-faced men surrounding it. "Mummy, I'm scared." I crouched down, looking into her eyes. "It's just a fancy car, baby, like in the movies. We're going on an adventure, remember?" She didn't look convinced, but nodded bravely. I lifted her into the SUV and climbed in after her, settling her on my lap. The interior was all black, leather, and subtle luxury, smelling of expensive cologne and new car. Alacio slid in beside us, the door closing with a solid thunk that sounded final, irrevocable. "Take us home, Vincent," he instructed the driver, who nodded and pulled away from the curb. The other SUVs fell into a formation around us. One in front, one behind, the others peeling off in different directions. Home. A questioned tension coiling tighter in my chest. My residence, Elysia Clarifit. It has the highest security of any property I own. You'll be safe there until we locate Michael. Emma had already started to doze against my shoulder, exhaustion and illness pulling her back to sleep, despite the stranger circumstance. I envied her ability to escape, however. Temporarily. "This is kidnapping," I said softly, mindful of Emma's presence. Alacio's eyes flashed in the darkness of the car. "This is protection. If I wanted to kidnap you, you wouldn't have had time to pack." The truth of his words silenced me. We rode in tense quiet for several minutes, the only sounds Emma's soft breathing, and the occasional murmur from the driver's radio. "I still don't understand. Mike would steal from you." I finally said, "He's dishonest, selfish, and unreliable. But he's not stupid. He must have known you'd come after him." "People make poor decisions when they're desperate," Alacio replied, "or when they think they found a way to solve all their problems at once. What was on that flash drive that's worth?" Aldis, his jaw tightened. Names, locations, financial records. Enough to dismantle networks it took generations to build. I shifted Emma to a more comfortable position, her weight growing heavy against me. "And you think he'll just hand it over if I ask?" "No." Alessio's gaze was unflinching. "I think he'll come. Running when he realizes I have you and his daughter, and then he'll have no choice but to return what he stole." The cold calculation in his voice sent a shiver through me. "You're using us as bait after all. I prefer to think of it as leveraging available resources." His eyes dropped to Emma's sleeping form, then back to me. "But yes, essentially," I turned away, watching the city lights blur past the tinted windows. We were heading toward the wealthier part of town, where the streets grew wider and the houses sat back from the road. behind imposing gates and manicured lawns. If anything happens to my daughter because of this, I began. Nothing will happen to her. Alessio cut me off, his tone leaving no room for argument. You have my word. The word of a criminal, I muttered. The word of a man who understands the value of family, he countered. More than your ex-boyfriend ever did. It seems. Before I could respond, the SUV slowed, turning onto a private drive flanked by stone pillars. A wrought iron gate swung open to admit us, closing immediately behind our convoy. The driveway curved through expertly landscaped grounds before, revealing a mansion that loomed against the night sky. All clean lines and modern angles, glass and stone merging seamlessly. Welcome to my home, Sophia, Alessio said as the car came to a stop in the circular driveway. For now, it's yours, too. As the driver opened the door and the cool night air rushed in, I held him closer, wondering what I'd gotten us into and how we would ever get out again. The interior of Alessio's mansion eyes, exactly what I expected, and nothing like I imagined. Soaring ceilings, marble floors, artwork that probably cost more than my entire life. All the trappings of wealth I'd anticipated. But there was also an understated elegance, a warmth I hadn't expected from a man like him. No gaudy displays of excess, just quiet, confident luxury. A woman in her 60s with silver-streaked black hair and sharp eyes appeared in the foyer as we entered. Her posture was straight as Arella, her clothing simple but clearly expensive. Alessio, she said, her slight accent, Italian, I guessed, wrapping around his name with familiar affection. Her eyes moved to me, then to Emma, sleeping in my arms. I've prepared the East Suite as you requested. Thank you, Rosa. Alessio placed a hand briefly on her shoulder. This is Sophia and her daughter Emma. They'll be staying with us for a while. Rosa's expression gave nothing away, but I wondered how often Alessio brought strangers, hostages, to his home in the middle of the night. The child is ill, she asked, noting Emma's flushed cheeks. Recovering from a fever, I supplied, shifting Emma's weight. She was getting heavy, but I was reluctant to let her go in this unfamiliar place. Dr. Morove will be here in the morning, Alessio told me. Until then, Rosa will show you to your rooms and get you settled. Come, Rosa said, already turning toward a sweeping staircase. The little one needs proper rest. I hesitated, looking back at Alessio. And then what? We just wait. Hear Wileo hunt down Mike. We'll discuss the next steps in the morning. His tone made it clear the conversation was over for now. Try to get some sleep, Sophia. You're safe here. Safe. The word fell low. I'd never been less safe in my life. Caught between a ruthless criminal and whatever forces were hunting for what Mike had stolen. But my arms ached from carrying Emma. An exhaustion pulled at every cell in my body. Whatever came next would have to wait until morning. I followed Rosa up the stairs, down a corridor lined with what looked like original artwork, and into a suite that was larger than my entire apartment. A spacious sitting room opened into a bedroom with a king-size bed draped in luxurious linens. Through Ganatha door I glimpsed a second bedroom, smaller but equally elegant, for the little one, Rosa explained, seeing my glance, though perhaps. Tonight stays with you. Yes, I agreed. Gently laying Emma down on the main bed. She stirred but didn't wake, curling around Mr. Flopsy, with a soft sigh. Rosetta disappeared into what turned out to be a massive bathroom, returning with a cool cloth that she handed to me. For her fever, there are clean pajamas in the dresser. They may be big, but they will serve for tonight. Tomorrow, we can arrange for more suitable clothes. I pressed the cloth to Emma's forehead, wondering how many times this woman had tended to Alessio's guests. "Thank you," Rosa nodded, her sharp eyes taking my measure. "There is food in the small refrigerator if you are hungry. Breakfast is at 8, but for the child, we can prepare something earlier if needed." "This is all very accommodating for a kidnapping," I said, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. Rosa's expression didn't change. "Mr. Castelli does not kidnap. Women and children, whatever has brought you here, you are guests in this house, my house, as much as his." She moved toward the door. "Rest now. Morning comes quickly." After she left, I explored our gilded cage. The suite was luxurious in every detail: Egyptian cotton sheets, plush dowels, toiletries that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. The windows overlooked manicured ground, illuminated by subtle landscape lighting. And beyond them, a high wall topped with what I suspected was security wiring. No escape there. I changed Emma into a pair of silk pajamas that swallowed her small frame, then found a t-shirt for myself in the dresser. My own clothes felt grimy after the stress of the night, but I was too exhausted to shower. I curled up beside Emma on the massive bed, listening to her breathing, trying to quiet the panic that threatened to overwhelm me now that we were alone. What would happen when Alessio found Mike? What would he do to him? And what would happen to Yus afterward? I couldn't imagine he'd simply let us go. Not when we'd seen his face. Hisham knew about whatever Mike had stolen. People like Alessio Castelli didn't leave loose ends. Sleep came in fitful bursts, interrupted by nightmares of black cars and men with cold eyes. When morning light finally filtered through the gauzy curtains, I felt as if I hadn't slept at all. Emma woke in better spirits, her fever gone, though a slight core of mind. She explored the suite with wide-eyed amazement, fingertips brushing the heavy velvet drapes, then bouncing cautiously on the plush sofa as if afraid it might disappear beneath her. "Is this a hotel, Mummy?" she asked, peeking into the marble. Bathroom, the sunken tub, the rainfall shower. Everything gleamed. "Sort of," I said carefully, searching for words a 4-year-old could understand. "It's Mr. Alessio's house. We're staying here for a little while. It's pretty." She decided, then her smile faded. But I didn't bring my frozen nightlight. Relief washed through me. If that was her biggest worry, we were still okay. "I'm sure we can find something," I said softly. "Come on, let's get dressed. Breakfast should be ready soon." We had just finished changing into clothes pulled from our hastily packed bags when a knock sounded at the door. My body went rigid. "Come in," I called, forcing calm into my voice. Rosa entered, balancing a tray filled with sliced fruit, warm pastries, and a small porcelain pot releasing the rich scent of hot chocolate. "For the little one," she said kindly. "Mr. Castelli thought she might prefer to eat here this morning while you speak with the doctor." Every instinct flared. "I'm not leaving Emma with strangers." Rosa set the tray near the window. "The doctor is here for her, not for you. And I will stay while you speak with Mr. Castelli. He's waiting in his study. I'm not going anywhere without my daughter," I said firmly. Rosa's expression softened just a fraction. Sophia, if Mr. Castelli wanted to separate you from your child, he would not require my assistance. He respects that you are a mother protecting her bambina. But there are matters he must discuss that are not for a child's ears. I glanced at Emma, who was already eyeing the chocolate croissants with open delight. "Who's the doctor?" she asked. "Dr. Markov," Rosa answered. "Mr. Castelli's personal physician. He treats his family and his most trusted people." She poured a small cup of hot chocolate. "He's very good with children." As if on cue, another knock came. A man entered after Rosa's quiet acknowledgement, middle-aged, kind eyes behind wear-rimmed glasses, a gentle smile that immediately eased the tightness in my chest. "You must be Sophia," he said, accent faintly Eastern European. "And you must be Emma. I hear you've been feeling unwell." Emma nodded solemnly. "My throat hurts." "Well, let's take a look," he said warmly, setting his medical bag down. He glanced at me. "With your permission, of course." I hesitated, torn. Rosa leaned in slightly. "Mr. Castelli was quite insistent. It concerns your ex-husband." My stomach dropped. 15 minutes, I said. "Then I'm coming back, no matter what." Dr. Markov was already chatting with Emma about Mr. Flopsy, coaxing her shy smile back with practiced ease. I kissed the top of her head. "I'll be right back, baby." "Can I have hot chocolate?" she asked hopefully. "Yes," I said, managing a smile. "Be good." I followed Rosa down the corridor, memorizing every turn, a habit born from too many crime shows that suddenly felt painfully relevant. The study sat on the main floor. Dark wood, leather floor to Ling. Bookshelves, masculine and controlled. Alessio stood near the window, speaking rapid Italian into his phone. He wore dark jeans and a charcoal sweater, casual yet effortlessly expensive. He ended the call as I entered. "Sophia, I trust you slept well." "As well as someone forcibly relocated in the middle of the night can," I replied, folding my arms. Rosa said, "You have news about Mike? Please, sit." He gestured to a leather armchair. "I told Rosa 15 minutes, I said, staying where I was. Say it quickly." Something like respect flickered across his face. "Very well. My men located Michael's apartment early this morning." My heart skipped. "He wasn't there," Alessio continued calmly. "But it was clear he left recently. Within the last 24 hours. He moved behind his desk and opened a folder, sliding photographs toward me. I stepped closer. Emma at the park. Emma in our courtyard. Some with me, some without. My blood turned to ice. "What is this?" I whispered. "Michael has been watching you, or paying someone to." More photos followed, men I didn't recognize. Expensive suits, guarded expressions. Viktor Petrov, Nikolai Banov, Alessio said. High-ranking members of the Russian organization. I warned you about. My legs gave out. I collapsed into the chair. Why would Mike have photos of Emma? "Because he's planning something," Alessio said quietly. "Something that involves leverage." "That's insane," I said weakly. "He's selfish, not a monster." Alessio's gaze was unflinching. "The man who abandoned his sick child, who dragged your name into this world." I had no defense. Then he placed something in my hands. Emma's pink unicorn backpack, inside her passport, clothes, her favorite book, and an envelope stuffed with cash. He was going to take her, I whispered. Yes. Tears burned. How do I know you didn't plant this? I demanded. To what end? Alessio asked calmly. I could have forced you last night. He was right. What happens now? I asked. Now, he said, steepling. His fingers, you'd call Michael. I met his eyes. And I want guarantees. A pause, then a slow smile. A mother protecting her child, he said. I do respect that, and for the first time I believed him. Very well. He pulled a sheet of paper from a drawer, wrote several lines in elegant script, and signed it with a flourish before sliding it across to me. Satisfied, I scanned the document. A simple promise to provide new identities and financial support in exchange for my assistance in recovering his property. It was probably worthless, legally, as he'd pointed out. But something told me Alessio Castelli was a man who took high signatures seriously. I'll need a phone, I said, folding Thepopur and tucking it into my pocket. Use mine, he offered his sleek smartphone. It can't be traced to you. I took it, my fingers brushing his momentarily. An unexpected jolt ran through me at C-contact. Not fear, something else I didn't want to examine too closely. It dialed Mike's number from memory, half expecting it to go straight to voicemail as it had so many times before. Instead, he answered on the second ring. Who is this? His voice was tense, wary. It's me, I said, watching Alessio's face as he listened. We need to talk, Mike. Now, there was a long pause on the other end of the line. For a moment, I thought Mike had hung up. Sophie. His voice was barely a whisper. Where are you calling from? This isn't your number. I'm borrowing a phone, I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the rage and fear swirling inside me. Mine is unavailable right now. Are ye okay? Is Emma? Don't. I cut him off, my voice hardening. Don't pretend you care about Emma now. I found her passport missing from my drawer, Mike, and that pink unicorn backpack she outgrew last year, the one you insisted on keeping. I know what you were planning. Another silence, this one heavier. Beside me, Alessio's expression remained impassive, but I could feel the intensity radiating from him as he listened. It's not what to think, Mike finally said, his voice taking on that wheedling tone I knew too well, the one he used when caught. In Ali, I was just preparing in case. In case what? In case you needed to kidnap our daughter and flee the country. My hand gripped the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. Or were you planning to use her as a shield against the people? You stole from... Mike's sharp intake of breath told me he'd hit a nerve. Who have you been talking to? It doesn't matter. What matters is that I know what you did, Andy. Know you've been watching us. Those photos in your apartment? I improvised following Alessio's slight nod of encouragement. Did you take them yourself or did you hire someone to stalk your own daughter? Sophie. Listen to me. Mike's voice dropped lower. Urgent. You don't understand what's happening. Thest people. They're dangerous. Which people, Mike? The Castellis or the Russian Zia trying to sell to? I met Alessio's gaze as I mentioned his name, saw his eyes narrow slightly. How do your Mike stopped himself? Where are you right now? Tell. Me exactly where you and Emma are. Somewhere safe, I replied. The irony of the statement not lost on me. Safer than we were with you watching us, planning God knows what. You don't know how you're dealing with, Mike hissed. Whatever they've told you, I know exactly who I'm dealing with, I interrupted. All of them. And right now, you're the one I trust least. Alessio held out his hand, gesturing for the phone. I hesitated, then shook my head slightly. This was my conversation to control. I want to see Emma, Mike said suddenly. I need to make sure she's okay. Why? So you can finish what you started. Take her away from me. My voice cracked despite my efforts to remain calm. No, Sophie, please. It's complicated. I did something, I made a mistake. But everything I've done was to protect you both. The desperation in his voice almost sounded genuine. Almost. Prove it. I challenged. If you really want to protect us, then meet me face to face. Bring whatever you took, and we'll figure this out together. Alessio nodded approvingly, his eyes never leaving my face. I can't do that, Mike replied. It's too dangerous. They're watching me, Sophie. Probably watching you, too. Fine, then I'll go to the police. You'll tell them everything about the photos, the passport, the backpack, about your new employers. I took a calculated risk. I'm sure they'd be very interested in what's on that flash drive, too. You don't have it, Mike said quickly, confirming what Alessio had told me. You're bluffing, am I? You left copies in your apartment, Mike. Not very smart. Another improvisation. But from the way Mike's breathing changed, it hit its mark. Don't go to the police, he said after a moment. You have no idea what you'd be starting. Then meet me tonight. I glanced at Alessio, who mouthed an address. There's a coffee shop on Riverside Drive. Bluebird Coffee, 8 o'clock. That's too public. Exactly. I'm not stupid, Mike. Public place or nothing. Another long pause. I could almost hear him weighing his options, trying to determine if this was a trap, which of course it was. Fine, he finally agreed. 8 o'clock, but just you. No, Emma. Of course not. Unlike you, I don't endanger our daughter. I couldn't. Keep the bitterness from my voice. Sophie, he seemed about to say something else, then thought, better off it. I'll see you tonight. The line went dead. I handed the phone back to Alessio, suddenly exhausted by the exchange. Well done, he said, slipping the device into his pocket. Very convincing. It wasn't an act, I replied, standing up. Everything I said to him was true. Alessio rose as well, moving around the desk to stand before me. You understand he won't come alone. He'll have people watching, possibly even Petrov's men if he's made contact with them. I assumed as much. I lifted my chin, which is why I'm not going giver. His eyebrows rose slightly. That wasn't our agreement. Our agreement was that I help you find Mike and recover what he stole. I've just arranged that for you. I cross my arms defensively. I'm not putting myself in the crossfire of whatever is going to happen tonight. For a tense moment, I thought he might insist. Instead, he inclined his head in acknowledgement. Fair. Enough. My men can handle the mating point. He studied me with renewed interest. You're smarter than Michael gave you credit for. Most men underestimate me, I replied. Thinking of all the times Mike had dismissed my concerns, my intelligence, my instincts. I won't make that mistake. The intensity in Alessio's voice sent an unexpected shiver down my spine. Now, shall we check on your daughter? Dr. Marov should be finished by now. We found Emma sitting cross-legged on the bed, a now empty cup of hot chocolate beside her, watching cartoons on a tablet I didn't recognize. Dr. Marov was packing up his medical bag while Rosa tidied the breakfast tray. "Mummy," Emma's face lit up. When she saw me, Dr. Marov gave me medicine, vadists like strawberries, and Rosa said, "I can have pancakes for lunch if I want." "That's wonderful, sweetie." I sat beside her on the bed, checking her forehead automatically. Cool to the touch. Her fever was definitely gone. A mild throat infection, Dr. Marov informed me. Nothing serious, but I've prescribed an antibiotic to be safe. Rosa has the medication and instructions. He smiled at Emma. "She's a very brave patient." "Thank you," I said, genuinely grateful, whatever else Alessio might be. He'd kept his word about taking care of Emma. After the doctor left, Alessio spoke cately with Rosa in Italian. She nodded and departed, leaving the three of us alone in the suite. "Emma," Alessio said, his voice gentler than I'd heard it before, "would you like to see the garden? There's a fountain with fish in it." Emma's eyes widened with excitement. "Real fish? Can I feed them?" "Of course." He looked to me for permission. Part of me wanted to refuse it or keep Emma as far from him as possible, but the rational part knew that if he'd wanted to harm her, he'd had ample opportunity already. And after. Last night's revelations about Mike, I was beginning to re-evaluate who the real threat was. "Okay," I conceded. Beautium coming, too. The gardens were even more impressive in daylight. Meticulously maintained ground stretching toward the security wall I'd noticed from the window. Emma ran ahead to the fountain, a massive stone show, with water cascading over multiple tiers into a wide basin where orange and white koi swam lazily. Rose appeared with a small container of fish food, showing Emma how to sprinkle it gently on the water's surface. My daughter's delighted giggles as the fish swarmed toward. The food loosened something tight in my chest. Desperate breathing. She was happy in this moment, safe. "She's resilient," Alicia observed, standing beside me as we watched Emma, like her mother. I glanced at him, trying to reconcile the dangerous man who'd appeared at my door last night with the one who'd arranged for a doctor to treat my daughter, who'd provided a safe haven when I hadn't even realized we needed one. "What happens after tonight?" I asked quietly. "Assuming you get what you want from Mike, I honor our agreement." Alessio kept his eyes on Emma. New identities, financial certainty, a fresh start somewhere Michael can never find you. "And Mike, what happens to him?" Alessio's expression hardened. "That depends on him. If he cooperates fully, returns Verithan. He might survive this. And if he doesn't, his silence was answer enough. I should have felt horrified. Should have protested. Instead, I felt a cold detachment as I thought of the photos in Mick's apartment. The packed backpack, the missing passport, the evidence of his willingness to use our daughter as a pawn in his dangerous game. "I don't want to know," I finally said. "Whatever happens, I don't want details." Alessio nodded once, accepting my tacit consent. The day passed in a strange limbo. Emma, oblivious to the tension surrounding her, enjoyed the luxury of Alessio's home. The gardens, the enormous elation, the chef who prepared whatever she requested for lunch. I watched her bloom under this attention, guilt gnawing at me for the struggling existence I'd provided compared to all this. As evening approached, Eliseo disappeared to prepare for the meeting with Mike. I put Emma to bed early. Exhausted from her illness and the excitement of the day, she fell asleep, clutching Mr. Flopsy, her breathing deep and even. I was sitting in the sweet sitting room, staring unseemingly at a book I'd pulled from the shelves when Eliseo returned. He'd changed back into a suit, dark and impeccably tailored. The businessman was gone. The dangerous man from last night had returned. "It's time," he said simply. I set the book aside. "Be careful. Mike can be unpredictable whence cornered. I've dealt with far more dangerous men than Michael Donovan." He paused, then added, "But I appreciate your concern." I wasn't sure why I'd expressed it. Stockholm Syndrome, perhaps. Or simply the realization that Eliseo's survival meant safety for Emma and me. "Will you?" I hesitated. "Will you let me know when it's over?" "Of course." He moved toward the door, then stopped. "Lock this behind me. Don't open it for anyone except Rosso and myself. Understand?" I nodded, suddenly afraid in a way I hadn't. Be now day. The reality of what was about to happen crashed down on me. Mike confronted Biasio and his men, possibly by these Russians as well. Blood would be shed tonight. Maybe Mike's. "Alessio," I called as he reached the door. He turned, one eyebrow raised in question. "Thank you for protecting Emma, whatever else happens." "Thank you for that." Something shifted in his expression, a softening in the eyes, a slight relaxation of his jaw. He inclined his head in acknowledgement, then was gone. I locked the door as instructed and returned to Emma's bedside, watching her sleep. How had we come to this? Sheltered in the home of a criminal, waiting to hear if my child's father would survive the night. The bizarre twist of fate that had led me to text the wrong number. Eliseo's number seemed to coincidentalto be chance. Almost as if some cosmic force had intervened to protect us from Mike's plans. Hours passed. I dozed fitfully in the chair beside Emma's bed, jerking awake at every distant sound. It was after midnight when a soft knock came at the suite door. I crept to answer it, heart pounding. Alessio stood in the hallway, his suit jacket removed, the crisp white of his shirt contrasting with a dark stain on one sleeve that I refused to examine too closely. "It's done," he said simply. "Mike," I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted the answer. "Alive for now." His expression revealed nothing. He's been persuasive about his willingness to cooperate. Relief flooded him, though I wasn't entirely sure why. After everything Mike had done, perhaps I should have wished him dead, but he was still Emma's father, still the man I'd once loved enough to create a child with. The flash drive recovered along with all copies. Alessio loosened Histi, a strangely vulnerable gesture from a man who maintains such rigid control. "You and Emma are safe now. From him, from Petrov's men, from all of it. So what happens now?" I asked, echoing my Christian from earlier. "Now," Alessio said, his blue eyes holding mine. "We Hannah our agreement. New identities are already being arranged. By this time tomorrow, Sophia and Emma Ellis will no longer exist." I nodded, accepting this reality. "And after that, we just disappear. That would be safest," he agreed. Then, more hesitantly, unless he'd prefer an alternative arrangement. "Yeah." "What alternative?" Stay. The word hung between us, unexpected and charged with meaning, not as a prisoner or aguist as something else. I stared at him, trying to read the intention behind his offer. Why would you want that? Because in the span of 24 hours, you've shown more courage, intelligence, and loyalty than most people I've known my entire life. He stepped closer, not touching me, but near enough that I could feel the heat radiating from him. Because I protect. What's mine, Sophia? And I find myself reluctant to let you go, Burr. The possessiveness in his voice should have frightened me. Instead, it awakened something I'd thought long dead after years with Mike's neglect and betrayal. A sense of being truly seen, valued. I can't answer that tonight, I said honestly. Too much has happened. I need time, of course. He stepped back, professional distance restored. The offer remains open. Think about it, I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Get some rest, he said, turning to Olive. Tomorrow will bring new beginnings. Whatever you decide. After he left, I returned to Emma's bedside, watching the gentle rise and fall of her chest. New beginnings, a life free from Mike's shadow, from financial struggle, from the constant fear that had become our normal without me even realizing it. But at what cost? Aligning ourselves with Alessio Castelli meant entering a world I'd only glimpsed. A world of power and danger and moral compromises. Could I justify that choice for the security it offered? For the protection of those piercing blue eyes that had seen? My worth when no one else had. Emma stirred in her sleep, a small smile playing on her lips as she dreamed. Whatever I decided, it would be for her to give her the safety and stability she deserved, to ensure no one could ever use her as a pawn again, as dawn broke over the mansion's gardens. Painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, I madame, decision. I would accept Alessio's offer, not out of fear or gratitude, but from a place of strength. I would enter his world on my terms, with eyes wide open. One mistaken text had changed everything. Had brought a dangerous man to my door. Black cars surrounding my home. But in that danger, I'd found an unexpected sanctuary, and perhaps in time, something more. He sent a silent prayer of thanks for that fateful error, for the wrong number that had led me exactly where I needed to be. Thank you so much for joining me for this story. If you enjoyed, she texts the Mafia boss by mistake. Please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more thrilling stories. Your comments mean the world to me. Let me know what you thought and what kind of stories you'd like to see next. Until next time, keep reading and stay mysterious.